At my daughter's wedding, I was stopped by a security guard and denied entry. "Your name is not on the list," he said coldly. I saw my wife and daughter watching and laughing from a distance, but I said nothing and left. The next day, they came to me in tears, begging for help for a reason I never could have expected. It's been 5 years since the divorce. My wife Patricia and daughter Caitlin live in the large mansion in Westchester County that was part of our settlement, while I chose a quieter life in a high-rise apartment on the Upper East Side, a modestly sized home with a view of Central Park's greenery. As head of research and development at MediPharm Pharmaceuticals, my days are busy and fulfilling, leading a cancer drug development project. I'm in charge of a project with an annual budget of $100 million collaborating with the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins Hospital. On weekends, I regularly volunteer at St. Mary's Senior Center. The peaceful conversations with the residents there bring me comfort. This tranquil life began to change when my daughter's social media account started gaining explosive popularity. Under the account name Catalan Luxury Life, she posted about her lavish lifestyle, and her follower count quickly surpassed 1 million. Her advertising revenue was rumored to exceed $500,000 annually. She posted daily photos of new Hermes bags, meals at Michelin-starred restaurants, and travels around the world on private jets. With her flashy blonde hair, perfect makeup, and designer clothing, my daughter's posts became the envy of young women everywhere. My wife leveraged our daughter's popularity to further strengthen her influence in New York society. With an annual income of over $1 million from her divorce settlement investments, she established her social standing through charitable work and served as a board member of the New York Charity Association. Then the harassment against me began. Social media attacks, rumors spread to damage my reputation. Comments like "How can someone from such a wealthy family live such a plain life?" and "The father is a family embarrassment" started appearing on my daughter's social media account. However, I chose to endure it silently, maintaining my belief in making my own way through merit. One day, my daughter announced her engagement to investor James Harrison. The post received over 1 million likes. James came from a prominent Boston family. His father was chairman of an investment bank, with strong connections in political and financial circles. He seemed like an ideal match for my daughter, being meticulous and highly conscious of social standing. Wedding plans progressed rapidly, with arrangements made for a 400-person ceremony at the iconic Plaza Hotel. The budget was rumored to exceed $500,000. Industry VIPs and society notables were added to the guest list. A custom wedding cake from Sylvia, Dom Perignon Champagne, and a course menu featuring Vile Osso Bucco, everything was planned to be top tier. However, I never received an invitation. When I asked my wife, she dismissed me, saying, "You must be busy. You've got your hands full with drug development." Still, I told myself this was my daughter's special day. I prepared a modest navy Ralph Lauren suit and a Cartier watch. Manhattan was bathed in summer sunshine. I started preparing early in the morning, slipping into my navy Ralph Lauren suit. My appearance was subtle but carefully done. I paired the outfit with my Cartier watch and cufflinks inherited from my father. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I sighed deeply. As I carefully styled my graying hair, I reaffirmed my desire to sincerely celebrate my daughter's special day. Outside my window, Central Park's trees swayed in the early summer breeze. The sight of morning joggers gave me a sense of normalcy. I arrived at the Plaza Hotel exactly at 11 a.m. Luxury cars were arriving one after another at the entrance, with white-gloved valet parking staff bustling about. Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Mercedes-Maybach. My Lexus was clearly out of place. Nevertheless, the valet staff greeted me with unchanged politeness. "Have a wonderful time, Mr. Walker." I nodded slightly at the young staff member's smile and walked through the heavy revolving door. Stepping into the hotel lobby, I was struck by the sparkle of crystal chandeliers. The Italian marble floor was adorned with lavish floral arrangements, creating a fairy tale-like elegance. Pure white calla lilies and pink roses were arranged in graceful curves. The sweet scent of lavender enveloped the entire space. In the lobby, I met acquaintances from the pharmaceutical industry, Dr. Johnson from Mayo Clinic and Professor Martin from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. They highly value my work. We eagerly discussed the clinical trial data for a new anti-cancer drug. "Henry, it's your daughter's big day. What a wonderful venue." "Yes, I sincerely wish for her happiness. By the way, I heard the new drug trial data is showing excellent results. FDA approval must be close. Your research will save many patients." Engaging in pleasant conversation, we headed toward the reception hall. The long corridor was filled with luminaries of society, ladies in Chanel tweed suits, women carrying Hermes Birkin bags. Everything was perfectly coordinated. Snippets of conversation revealed rumors that the wedding budget exceeded $500,000. The walls were adorned with 18th-century French tapestries, and Renaissance-style murals decorated the ceiling. Along both sides of the corridor, antique vases held pure white Casablanca lilies, their pristine fragrance wafting through the air. I stopped in front of the venue doors. A security guard in a black suit stood there holding the latest iPad. With tense feelings, I approached the guard checking the list. A gold name tag reading Plaza Security gleamed on his chest. Your name? Henry Walker. One moment, please. The guard scrolled through the screen several times, frowning. My heart began to race at his expression. I'm sorry, but your name is not on the list. Those cold words pierced my heart. I felt as if the surrounding temperature had suddenly dropped. Please check again. Henry Walker. I'm the bride's father. I could feel my voice trembling slightly. The guard checked the list again but simply shook his head expressionlessly. I'm sorry, but you'll have to leave. Just then, I turned toward distant laughter. There stood my wife and daughter. My wife wore a pure white Chanel suit with a Cartier necklace gleaming at her throat. My daughter was in a Vera Wang white wedding gown, a diamond tiara adorning her hair. She held the latest iPhone in her hand, pointing the camera in my direction. She was probably live streaming on social media. Comments flooded the screen, with heart emojis floating up. Messages like "best drama ever" and "serves dad right" danced across the screen. My wife and daughter wore triumphant smiles. Surrounding guests watched me with confused expressions. Some looked away apologetically. In that moment, I understood everything. This was no coincidence. It was all planned. The missing invitation, my wife's words, everything had been preparation for this scene. I quietly turned on my heel. Walking back through the lobby, I felt concerned glances from acquaintances but kept walking straight ahead. Dr. Johnson tried to call out to me, but I just returned a smile without stopping. When retrieving my car from valet parking, the young staff member showed an apologetic expression. His earlier bright smile had vanished. Take care. I nodded slightly at his words and got into my car. The Plaza Hotel's imposing figure in my rearview mirror gradually grew smaller. Under the cloudless blue sky, I drove in silence. New York's skyline of high-rises felt colder than usual. My phone screen kept lighting up with notifications from my daughter's social media livestream. It seemed thousands were watching simultaneously. I turned off all notifications and put the phone in my bag. Then, with a deep sigh, I headed home through Manhattan's bustle. On social media, a storm was already raging. The hashtag Walker family scandal quickly became trending, with angry comments pouring in from my daughter's live stream viewers. The video had been shared with the Boston fiancé's family, and the Harrisons were furious. Pharmaceutical industry VIPs invited to the wedding were also raising protests one after another. Inquiries were flooding in from Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins Hospital, my project's research partners. In the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom, more than half the guests had begun leaving early. The sharp sound of luxury heels on marble floors created a dissonant echo in the silent venue. My cell phone was receiving concerned messages from industry contacts. However, I kept it powered off. I quietly drank tea in my Manhattan home, gazing at Central Park's greenery outside my window. Then, as expected, the news arrived. The fiancé, James Harrison, announced the cancellation of the ceremony. I cannot marry into such a family. I am terminating the engagement. The moment James's calm voice echoed through the venue, my daughter let out a hysterical scream. My wife fainted, her pearl necklace scattering across the marble floor. The venue fell into chaos as media rushed in. By evening, my apartment's intercom rang. The monitor showed the tear-stained faces of my wife and daughter. The Chanel suit was wrinkled, and the wedding dress hem was stained with mud. Henry, help us. My wife's voice trembled. The security camera showed them prostrating themselves at my front door. Their figures, wrapped in luxury brands, now evoked only pity. Please, open up. We'll explain everything. We'll apologize. My daughter's voice was strained. While the social media stream had stopped, I could see masses of critical comments still flowing on her smartphone screen. Her follower count was dropping dramatically, and it appeared she was receiving contract termination notices from advertising sponsors. I quietly sat on the sofa and took a sip of tea. Outside the window, the sun was setting, painting Manhattan's skyscrapers orange. The intercom kept ringing. Open up. Please. Our reputation can't take any more. The screams gradually became more desperate. The social media backlash showed no signs of stopping, rather, it was accelerating. Major Western media outlets were picking up the story one after another. I stood up and walked to the window. In Central Park, the usual evening scene unfolded, people enjoying jogs, families walking dogs, students reading on benches. The ordinary sight made the current situation feel even more surreal. The crying and screaming continued at my door. Residents of the luxury condominium were eyeing my wife and daughter suspiciously. Security guards approached, asking them to leave. We can't leave this situation as is. My cell phone started ringing again. The display flashed wife. Next to it were notifications of over 100 unread messages. Media interview requests were also pouring in. Then an unexpected turn of events occurred. The Plaza Hotel's security camera footage leaked. The footage of me being denied entry, my wife and daughter laughing while filming, it spread instantly, triggering a new wave of outrage. The mass exodus of followers from my daughter's social media account wouldn't stop. Her follower count, which had exceeded 1 million, plummeted to below 100,000 in 24 hours. But that wasn't all. Critical comments began flooding her past posts. Were all your past posts lies? Were the luxury brand advertisements actually borrowed items? Contract termination notices from advertising sponsors came like an avalanche. Her annual income of over $500,000 was about to become zero overnight. The Harrison family in Boston filed a massive damages claim. In addition to the $500,000 wedding costs, they demanded another $1 million for damage to the family's social credibility. The Harrison family, a prominent Boston dynasty, holds strong influence in political and financial circles. Their anger was beyond imagination. The price for damaging our family's honor will not be small. The investment bank chairman's words, James's father's statement, were reported by major U.S. media. The Wall Street Journal covered the scandal on its front page. The impact on my wife was also devastating. Her exclusion from New York society began immediately. She received an expulsion notice from the New York Charity Association, and other charitable organizations she had been involved with successively demanded to sever ties. I never want to hear the name Patricia Walker again. The words of society's leaders were cold and final. The annual income of over $1 million from our shared estate was certain to diminish significantly after the bank managing the asset investments terminated their contract. Then a chain of exposures began. Followers of my daughter's social media account started pointing out inconsistencies in her past posts one after another. Was this Hermes bag actually a replica? Are all the luxury restaurant photos from the same angle because you never actually went inside? Were the private jet posts actually studio shots? Investigation revealed shocking facts. The majority of my daughter's posts were carefully staged fabrications. Luxury brand items were borrowed or replicas. Restaurant meals were photographed only from outside without actually dining there. Many overseas travel photos were digitally edited. Furthermore, it was revealed that their treatment of me at the wedding was planned harassment. They had intentionally excluded my name from the guest list and pre-announced the social media stream to gather many viewers. I wanted to create the best drama to get the highest viewer numbers. My daughter's confession caused huge ripples online. Criticism intensified over her act of trampling family bonds for viewer numbers and advertising revenue. My employer, MediPharm, was flooded with inquiries about this scandal. However, the company's response was swift. Vice President Henry Walker's achievements in research and development are unshakable. Family issues and his professional capabilities are entirely separate matters. The CEO's statement gathered strong support within the industry. Rather, through this incident, appreciation for my work increased even further. Joint research with Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins Hospital continues to progress smoothly. Henry's research will bring hope to many cancer patients. Professor Martin's words were widely shared in the medical community. The new drug's clinical trial data showed excellent results, with FDA approval approaching. However, my ex-wife and daughter's situation continued to worsen. The mansion in Westchester County had to be sold to pay the damages to the Harrison family. With complete exclusion from society, their life foundation completely collapsed. Avoiding public eyes, they had no choice but to move to a small apartment in the suburbs. How did it come to this? My ex-wife's lamenting voice echoes off the walls of the small apartment. All their luxury brand bags and clothes were put up for auction. Most of their savings disappeared into damage payments, leaving only regret behind. In the midst of this, a letter arrived in my apartment's mailbox. It was an apology letter from my ex-wife and daughter. On stationery stained with tears, they acknowledged their past mistakes. We didn't understand your sincerity. We were drowning in vanity and pride, losing sight of what was important. However, my mind was already made up. While I could forgive, returning to our former relationship was impossible. The past cannot be changed. We each had to choose new paths in life. Please do not contact me again. That was all I wrote in my reply. A year has passed since then. The sunlight streaming through the windows of St. Mary's Senior Center is gentle and warm. I was walking down the facility's hallway after finishing my weekend volunteer work. Henry, thank you for coming again today. An elderly woman in her 80s smiles from her wheelchair. Conversations with her always warm my heart. Over this year, my volunteer activities have expanded significantly. I now serve as a director of an NPO supporting the elderly, increasing my opportunities for social contribution. At MediPharm, my promotion from development director to vice president was decided. The drug development exceeded expectations in its success, receiving FDA approval. We were able to bring new hope to many cancer patients. Vice President Walker's leadership is outstanding. His integrity was the key to success. My reputation in the industry has become unshakable, with research results being published successively in medical journals. Manhattan cityscape remains as vibrant as ever. Meanwhile, my wife and daughter's lives have changed dramatically. Their social media accounts were completely deleted, and they lost their place in society entirely. Living quietly in a small suburban apartment, they can only reminisce about past glory. Just once, I'd like to meet and talk. Occasionally, messages arrive from my wife. However, I don't reply. That was my choice. I decided to live looking forward, not imprisoned by the past. From my high-rise window, Central Park's autumn colors are beautiful. In my life filled with work and volunteer activities, I have no regrets. Rather, I feel that the events of that wedding day brought new meaning to my life. Living with sincerity, I've realized anew that this is what matters most. I shared these words at Medi Farms board meeting. From the conference room window, Manhattan skyscrapers are visible. Under a cloudless blue sky, a new era was about to begin. My once famous daughter now reportedly works at a small accounting firm. My ex-wife spends her days knitting at home. Their luxurious lifestyle has become a distant memory as they live modestly. There are things more important than money and fame. We had to lose everything to realize that. That's what was written in my daughter's final letter. Inside the envelope was a simple photo of them together. Gone were the luxury brand outfits and heavy makeup. Yet their expressions showed a peaceful contentment. Sometimes I pass by the Plaza Hotel. The events of that day now feel like distant memories. Volunteer work at the Senior Center, drug development research, company responsibilities. In the midst of my fulfilling daily life, I'm walking my own path. Henry is our pride. Dr. Johnson's words from Mayo Clinic were widely shared in the medical community. But for me, what matters most is the fact that I've lived true to my beliefs. Manhattan's twilight wraps the city in its usual beauty. The setting sun reflects off the high-rise windows, painting the city in orange light. The trees in Central Park sway gently in the breeze. Tomorrow will bring another new day. Perhaps that is the greatest gift for me, who chose to live with integrity.